Greetings, travelers! Yes, it is I, Mark. I am here to start something a little different. Now, first off, I want to say thank you for all the feedback on these mini-sodes. People seem to really enjoy them, and that just fills my heart with glee. I'm very happy to do them. It's been a lot researching these because it is just me. I normally can expect Erica to chime in on these and keep me on track, but I think I'm doing a pretty good job of staying on course and all that. And I think some of these might have been able to stretch into full episodes. I wanted to go down a different track for this one. I think this is going to be a series of episodes. I'm experimenting a lot with these to see what really sticks and all that. One of the things when I was growing up, I've mentioned it before, is a great movie called Captain Kronos, Vampire Killer. It's from the Hammer films. They're one that didn't have Dracula, right? Or one that didn't have Peter Cushing, didn't have Christopher Lee. This was an experimental one. It was this guy who was a Swedish guy, the actor, but he was a swordsman, and he had this like Igor-like sidekick who was a professor and very knowledgeable in all the supernatural and everything. And it stuck with me because the vampires were so different in that. They were not ones that drank blood. This one drank youth. That was fascinating to me. The professor sidekick at one point, they're like, what do you mean? The vampires leave 2 holes in the neck. And the professor sidekick goes to the guy and says, no, my dear, there are more types of vampires in this world than there are other animals. And I was like, yes, I want to know more about different types of vampires instead of the bloodthirsty counts who live in castles and the damsels who seduce you and drain your blood. You know, there's succubi and incubi and other things like that are a bit more demonic. But I want to know more about the world of vampires. So this is the first one that I'm going to do on vampires of the world. Now, you may think of Dracula and all that, but we're going to go over to India because some of these, when I would read these as a younger man, it fascinated me. So I dug into them even more. And then recently I stumbled on a mention of one from a Disney show of all things. We'll get into that a little bit after the break, but they are just packed with amazing twists. And they're not just stories to creep you out. They are literally woven into India's cultural and historical roots. We got to get in the Wayback Machine, and I don't even know where we're going. We go back to ancient texts. Oh, I'm going to have trouble pronouncing some of these. So forgive me to my native Hindi speakers. I'm not very good at this. But Garuda Purana and even some stories from the Mahabharata, they were not immortal vampires from our Western tales. Indian lore, they're almost like ghosts. They have vengeance. They have unfinished business, or there are consequences of rituals gone wrong. Blood is sacred to them, though. And it's at the heart of these beliefs, literally. We'll get to that. So the first one is Pikal Paris, or Pikal. Some names it's given Churiel. That's more Southeast Asia, Central Asia, most notably India, Pakistan. The thing with them is they roam the mountains, particularly found in the Himalayas. It does enter Indian villages, and in Pakistan, there have been sightings in the Punjab province. They appear in the woods at night, and they target lone men. Basically, they have 2 forms. They usually appear as a beautiful woman in order to lure men to them. Of course, that's the classic, right? Yo, we're beautiful. Come see me. There's some debate that it could be that she died on her wedding, or it could be that she died in childbirth. And generally during a holy festival, she died, which is why she is back and why she needs men, or later on, women. She is known to cause harm to other pregnant women. Now, usually the elders of the tribes talk about these. The big key is the name, the Pikal Pari, which means reverse-footed. That's the crazy thing, because what she does is she comes to the trees, or she comes to your bed while you're asleep. So she'll lure you into the forest, which is very fae-like, or she'll come to your bed at night, which is very succubi like. What she does is she gets to you and drains you of your blood straight from your heart. So she just digs into your chest somehow with her bite or her hands, depending, and drains this from you. That name, Backward Feet, that's her only way you can tell that something is wrong with her, because when you look closely, her feet are backwards. And that gives into her other appearance, her natural appearance, which is that of a ugly, true black tongue, terrible looking, thick, rough lips, wild hair. But she shapeshifts to that woman. And sometimes she has a lantern with her. The story I heard was a woman died during the 5-day festival of Diwali, and she came back as this revenant vampire. And that she mostly attacks the male line of their own family. So they start with the youngest, most handsome, and while it drinks the blood, it turns the youngest man into an old man. It keeps going down the bloodline until it wipes out the whole family. And that's when it turns to the women. And when that's all gone, that's when it tries to feed on just strangers. Now, this is also in Indonesia. So this story also goes into the woods of the Indonesian islands. They call it the Pontianak, probably mispronouncing that too. It comes from that Churiel. They've even made some movies about them there, which is great. It's very much all over Malaysia and Indonesia. Now, of course, some people say these are not myth. These are not legends. These are true, terrifying, true creatures. Now, the other two that I'm just going to kind of breeze over here a little bit, because they're not as detailed as that. The first is the Preta, and it was more like a hungry ghost. This is one that didn't receive proper funeral rites, and it leads them to roam the earth. And they are consuming your life force. They drain you and make you old. And they are more from East India. There's also the Bhuta in that area, and a Dakini, which are usually influenced by the black arts. The body was not properly disposed of with rites and sacred rituals. So that's what got them. And then the last one is the Bhoot, Bhoot, which is a spirit in the region of West India. And this one, there's not a lot on it that I could really find other than it's more of a classic vampire. It was bitten by another Bhoot, and it comes back to seek sustenance and to seek vengeance, usually on its family for not giving it proper rights and protection from these rituals of black magic and stuff like that. So that's a few. Now, after the break, we're going to talk about another one that inspired a Disney Channel show. We'll be right back. And we're back. It's interesting to me that these things are just so wild, so weird, all that. I just love them so much. These stories just are a little wild, a little crazy. So now that we've discussed these, we've got to talk a little bit about one last one. And then I'm going to get into how to protect yourselves from these, because that's important. So the last one is the Vetala. Now, this one is very mischievous. It is almost demon-like, that it inhabits corpses. It knows the knowledge of these corpses, and it is often depicted as very mischievous, and that it challenges the living to games of chance. It seems to be just messing with people just for fun. It also does drain blood, but one of the big things how it does it, it's pretty brutal. It uses its claws to dig into your stomach and then drink the blood that pours out. Now that's terrifying to me, right? I can't imagine dealing with that. It's just a crazy creature. Now, it also can possess the living. If it does possess the living, it's even worse because it has to eat flesh. So it becomes more of a zombie. It's still drinking blood, but it is eating flesh as well. What's amazing to this is that Disney Channel, of all places, right? Disney Channel has a show called Vicky and Vital, and it's based on this kind of legend, but it features a young boy named Vicky and his vampire friend Vital, but he only drinks milk and not blood. And they have many adventures, and he certainly isn't mischievous. maybe on a Beetlejuice level. So he's not wreaking havoc like the one in the True Legend and all that. Now, the Vetala is a little different because you can also be infected by or being killed by one will bring you back, or being bit by one will bring you back. So that's where it kind of blends with the zombies, but it is a demon possession. I don't get that one too much. There's just two more that I'm going to just quickly mention. Pisacha, which they're from Hindu lore. They have red swollen eyes, bulging veins, and again, tend to be more flesh eaters than vampires. They are usually feminine, and they haunt cremation grounds. Like most Hindu lore, they're just categorized as a separate race from humanity, and humans cannot transform or become Pishkas, but they can be possessed and controlled by one. But they even have their own language, which I thought was interesting. Pisachi. Supposedly they were created by Brahma himself. That's pretty crazy. And then the other two are Pei and Peimakir, which they're vampire, but they haunt battlefields and they feed on fallen soldiers. And they're generally in Tamil, probably one of the best places to find battlefields. The big thing with them is they do a ritual dance as they devour the corpses, the bloody corpses. They're a bit more ghoul-like, but she dances very frenziedly, and they eat the dead, but if they're hungry enough, they will eat the living soldiers on battlefields that are dying. It's pretty crazy. So how do you protect yourself, right? That's the important thing. First things first is you have to complete various rituals. Most of these use sacred herbs and protective amulets. And that sounds very similar to garlic and crucifixes, right? It's the same type of stuff, but the herbs, generally depending on the area, vary. Some are saffron, some are lavender, and some are local flowers. They generally are whatever's local to the area. The other role to practice is, now let's say you get attacked by the backward foot lady. The only way to protect yourself from her is to have a nail, and generally an iron nail, and you stab her in the neck. And once you do that, she'll transform back into the beautiful young woman she once was, and you can marry her. It doesn't kill her, and you can marry her and live a good life, and she will be a good wife for you, unless you take out the nail. And then she returns right back to the way she is. That's an interesting version of a stake through the heart, right? I don't know quite how to deal with that. There is this wonderful modern thing now where they are bringing them back in recent films over there. And I've got to get a hold of some of these because some of these sound amazing. And they are merging that folklore with modern techniques, which I love dearly. I guess it is folklore for that area. It's just this fear of fascination with the supernatural. These myths and legends, I don't know if they are, because there's some truth to some of these that people say. The village elders that I talked to said, this is true. This is what happens. You have to prepare yourselves for these. Indonesia, they recently had an outbreak and had to have the Pantaniac, and they had to go to forming posses to go out and hunt them. Now, what worries me is, of course, there's anxieties. Mental health is a thing, and it could be simple that it could be mass hysteria that led to this hunt. It could be that they went hunting vampires. We'll never really know. We're going to delve deeper into these vampire myths. We're going to find some fantastic stuff or true vampire stuff. There's just something about vampires that taps into our deepest fears of death, the unknown, breaking moral codes. They're not just scary. They make us think. They seem to be more than just spooky stories. When we go around the world exploring these, we're going to find out that these are just windows into culture, fears, and values that have been passed down for generations. Creepy and captivating, I think. Is there a specific area you'd like me to explore? Is there a strange legend that you've heard near you? I'd love to hear more about it. I'd love to learn how to properly pronounce these. I tried Googling how to pronounce them before, but the way my brain works, it was gone the second I looked them up. Fascinating stuff. So thank you, patron members. Thank you, those of you who tune in every week. It's amazing to me that you guys are following us so well. Thank you for all your listener stories, listener tales, listener questions. They are incredible. Keep them coming because, wow, if you haven't listened to those episodes, give them a listen because we had to catch up. We had over 200 of tales that we had to catch up on from just before Christmas till March. I think we're caught up now, but just keep them coming. It's amazing to me. Last thing before I go, travelers, when you're out there and you see that beautiful woman calling to you from the woods, take a deep breath, take a step back, make sure you've got that nail, and then you can go visit her. And we'll see you on the other side.